we do want to be thought leaders in the space. And as I said, we want to help brands do better business and not just clear product, but success for us. And it's something that we talk to the brands about all the time is our success, especially for those more premium brands, those high price pointed brands, is how can we help you talk to that aspirational customer? How can we help introduce a customer to your brand that may in the future become a full price customer, give them access at that price point in an aspirational environment? And I think that's a big part of the success and a big part of the sell for us to the brands.
Hello and welcome. I'm Elizabeth Formosa, the founder of Fashion Equipped and devourer of all things fashion, business and mindset. In this podcast, I'm speaking with thought leaders, change makers and entrepreneurs about the business side of fashion and everything in between. Fashion Business Mindset is your front row seat to real stories from designers, brands, entrepreneurs, makers and mentors. We'll discuss how to launch and grow a fashion business and give you insider access to the future of fashion. So let's do this together and ensure that you're equipped to make the fashion business your business. Welcome back to Fashion Business Mindset. Today I chat with Justin Seskin and Camilla Frost from The Dom. The Dom is Australia's leading premium online outlet with the inside scoop on the latest trends and the best deals. With over 250 brands on the platform, The Dom brings customers the best deals all in the one place. The Dom is on a mission to disrupt the cycle of fashion. While speaking with Justin, the co-founder of The Dom, and Camilla, the senior marketing manager, we discover The Dom was founded by retail industry leaders, motivated by the lack of integrity in clearance shopping, and who are determined to improve the experience for customers and brands alike. The Dom is reimagining outlet shopping, giving customers a whole new way to shop on sale and providing an elevated channel for brands to clear their inventory. Justin was born into a retail family and has many years of senior retail experience. And Camilla is a brand marketer with over 11 years experience working with leading global brands. This is a dynamic conversation with two long-term, innovative industry professionals and will no doubt challenge your mindset when it comes to the online outlet experience and how to integrate your brand marketing with an elevated clearance strategy that delivers customers a compelling offer. So let's dive in. Justin, Camilla, welcome to the Fashion Business Mindset podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Nice to be here.
Now, to set the scene, I would love for you both to share a little bit about your journeys in the industry before the Dom.
Sure. You want to go?
Yeah, sure. I started my career in a media agency here in Sydney called The Media Store that was primarily set up to service Toyota. So it was actually a really great experience to have, start my career working on a large client like Toyota. I think at the time they were one of the largest advertising spenders in Australia, which gave me a really solid foundation working with such a big brand. And then from there, I always had my sights set on New York. So I moved across there working at another media agency called Maxis, which was part of the Group M umbrella. And I was working on NBC Universal there, which was really fun. We were working on a channel called Bravo, which you're probably familiar with the series Real Housewives. So it was all about getting people to tune in and doing all the digital planning for NBC. So that was a really interesting learning curve for me because going to New York, I didn't know anything about the American media landscape. So I really had to buckle down and learn really fast how to plan and buy media in the US. And then after that, I moved across to a publication called Who What Wear, which really focuses on women's fashion. And everything they did was about creating this bridge between content and commerce. So they made sure that everything they did was shoppable. And they were really innovative in the publishing space. So one of the great partnerships we worked on originally was a first ever shoppable runway show in partnership with Maybelline. That was back in 2017, and customers came to the fashion show. They had iPads, they could shop the runway directly from their seat. And then through to when I left New York and that company, we were doing shoppable live stream videos, which had become so popular in the media space. So we were one of the first publishers to do that. And it was a really incredible job in that I got to work with some amazing brands over there. It was the likes of your Gucci and Cartier through to a Macy's and Walmart, who both wanted to reposition themselves as these fashion destinations with this credibility. So that was a really awesome experience in the US. And then I came back here and started at the Dom last year. So it's been an incredible journey so far, and I'm very excited to get into that with you today.
What a powerful grounding in the industry, Camilla. Yeah. That sounds like an exciting journey.
It was very, very exciting. Yeah, awesome to work for.
Yeah, no doubt all of that dynamic experience will be serving you well with the fast growth of the Dom. So we'll dive into that soon. Justin, you're up.
I'm up. So I grew up in a retail family, so it does run deep in the blood. I studied finance and accounting, and then I didn't do anything with that and went straight into retail. So over the last 15 years, I've been in various fashion retail functions, merchandising, commercial, operational, a licensee. So I've got a really good broad understanding of the industry, and I think I do understand how both the big and small businesses in our sector operate, which I think has given me the empathy and the understanding to build a proposition like the Dom that we do believe that it understands the needs of the businesses, not just from a commercial return, but also how they operate and how we can help them improve their business practice.
Amazing. Could you just touch on what those retail roles were, Justin? Like, were they in a physical format? What was that dynamic like?
Yeah, so I worked in a retail store as a salesman for a couple of years while I was studying. So that was the first experience that I got, which was really great. And there's a lot that I learned from that, that's for sure. And then moved into Topshop. So I worked at Topshop in Australia for a couple of years, so in merchandising, commercial, operational capacity. So touched a lot of different areas of the business, which was a huge learning for me. And then I was the licensee for an eyewear brand prior to joining the Dom, or prior to starting the Dom.
Amazing. Just a couple of small brands in there that you work for.
Yeah.
Some amazing leading brands. And of course, again, you've got just a dynamic grounding in the industry with all of that, that front row experience in the retail space. So let's talk about the Dom. The Dom is Australia's leading online outlet with the inside scoop on the latest trends and the best deals. So can you both talk us through the key aspects of the Dom business model and share what inspired you to create a business that is based on an outlet model?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with the inspiration and why we came into this business model. I mean, as I said, coming from that brand background and living in the industry for many years, I could see that the brands were hungry for an online outlet option that was empathetic to their business and understood their needs. I mean, there's plenty of options out there, and we can look at what's online, what's offline, and I think they certainly serve a purpose for some brands, but we saw a huge opportunity for a proposition that really understood the niche of the brands that we're trying to talk to, because a lot of the options that are available today or were available yesterday aren't quite appropriate or relevant for those brands that we're dealing with. So we took all our knowledge and all our experience of dealing on both sides of the fence and put together this proposition that we think really talks to the brands that we're dealing with and really goes deep behind the surface of what it is that they need for a sustainable outlet option. And then from the consumer side, and sorry, I will also add, there has been a lot of positive movement in the space overseas. So if you look at the likes of the Outnet, of course, I mean, very focused on the premium. Otrium, based out of the Netherlands, Shop Premium Outlets is another one, which is out of the States. So there certainly has been a movement towards this more premium outlet proposition. I think the brands don't want to deal with those cluttered outlet options that were typically the case, or typically the options that they had. They want something that is more aspirational and that is more accretive to their brands, not something that solves a problem but damages their credibility or their brand integrity over a period of time. And from the customer side, I mean, being a fashion customer, doing most of my shopping online, I was hungry for an option or a solution that really consolidated all the brands that I like into one place, all on sale, which is where we think the DOM adds value. We want to remove the hassle. We want to make it super easy. We don't want the customer to have to scroll through thousands of brands that aren't relevant for them. We want it to be a tight curated experience so that you know that if the brand is on the DOM, it's credible and it's something that you should trust.
Yeah, absolutely love it. I remember reading that you kind of articulated this as, the DOM is the modern voice of outlet shopping, which
Yes.
I absolutely love, because as soon as you hear the word outlet or clearance, you think, a bit scrappy. If you're a type of shopper who just really likes a seamless experience, you're like, I'm not going near the clearance or outlet stores because that's just going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
So this shopping experience that you've created is just outstanding and just really seamless. And you also mentioned when you spoke about being the modern voice, of outlet shopping, that up until now, outlet has been kind of a dirty word, inconvenient and uninspiring. And you really believe in creating a positive experience for brands to build their relationship with the customer.
And customer. Yeah, I think it's important that we do want to be thought leaders in the space. And as I said, we want to help brands do better business and not just clear product, but success for us, and it's something that we talk to the brands about all the time, is our success, especially for those more premium brands, those high price pointed brands, is how can we help you talk to that aspirational customer? How can we help introduce a customer to your brand that may in the future become a full price customer, give them access at that price point in an aspirational environment? And I think that's a big part of the success and a big part of the sell for us to the brands.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Do better business and be in an aspirational environment. And I think that that's the key. It is ensuring that clearance shopping becomes aspirational and it becomes seamless.
Yep.
So you have over 250 brands on your platform now. I think I remember reading you launched with 150, which was still a very healthy portfolio. And then you've grown significantly. Can you talk to us about the type of brands and designers that you're attracting to the platform and what categories you're focusing on?
Yeah, absolutely. Our current focus is on designer brands. So at the start of the year, we shifted our focus, what we're calling the premiumization of the DOM. I'll touch on the new branding around that in a bit as well. But our focus really is on quality fashion brands. And we're very proud to say that 80% of the brands we work with are Australian owned, which is just something that we want to be able to support locally. But we have a very considered approach to the brands we work with. It's all about having the right brands, and we don't want to just have fast fashion at a cheaper price. It's about giving customers access to affordable quality fashion at an affordable price point. And some of these brands are the likes of Jack & Jack and Bianca Spender, who've just come on board. Plus we have St. Agni, Lee Matthews, Adidas, Rolly Nation, Joe Mercer. I mean, the list goes on. There's 250 brands. But that's just a sample of that quality of brand we're working with.
Amazing. How are you reaching the brands, Camilla? So are they coming across your platform, seeing, other brands within their competitive space on the platform? Are you actively marketing? How are you building awareness?
This is all done through outreach to brands, really. We've got a huge list of brands that we want to work with, and it's speaking to them directly, talking them through our progress and what we want to achieve for them and how we can be partners in this space, essentially. It's been a lot of legwork to get to the 250 brands, but we're excited with the selection of brands we have on board now.
Yeah, and also it's a small industry, and we've got a really great group of internal stakeholders that support with the outreach, and there's always 1-2 degrees of separation. There's always somebody, so that's been fairly easy. And I do believe that the proposition that we have built, it's appealing to brands. It's not a hard conversation, and it's an easy one to explain to the brands why they should be part of the DOM, and if not now, consider it for the near future.
Yeah, let's dive into that a little bit further. So we've touched on a few of the benefits of the DOM, doing better business and aspirational environment, but I'd really like to dive into those key benefits for brands, because the majority of our audience are going to be fashion brands and businesses that no doubt are going to be very interested in your platform if they're not already on it. So let's talk about those key benefits between the DOM and the environment that you've created to do better business compared to those typical, traditional clearance type models that, often brands just want to kind of send that out the back door and forget about it and not have to worry about it again. But this is obviously a very different way of clearance retailing.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk to some of the USPs. I think first, it is a marketplace, and what key there is a seller sets the price and controls the proposition in the market. And I think what has become a challenge for a lot of brands, and we are seeing them shift their strategy, is especially with e-com and the transparency of e-commerce and pricing online, brands don't want to have the same product with multiple different prices. It doesn't make sense for them, and it doesn't make sense for the consumer. How can they control their proposition in market? And marketplace is certainly an answer for that. And that's not just discount marketplaces, that's full price marketplaces as well. So that's one of the main things. The other benefit of the marketplace is there's no physical movement of goods needed. So that stock can be available to sell through their own channels, through their own stores, through other channels, as well as through the DOM. So we're not shifting product around the country hoping that it sells somewhere. It can be sitting in one central location, and multiple customers, or many customers, can have access to that same inventory. That's another one. Premium proposition. So we are talking to that aspirational customer I mentioned before. What is the success story for us with our partner brands is introducing a aspirational customer to their brand, giving access to the customer to that product, and hopefully or potentially over time that customer graduating to a full price customer of that brand. But also it certainly is a brand marketing exercise, and we want brands to feel proud to be on the DOM. We don't want, as you say, for them to be on the DOM and not want to tell anybody about it, because that doesn't really help and that doesn't really work for us. We want them to say the DOM is great, it solves a problem, it's building my brand, and it's giving me access to a new customer. That's sort of the trifecta of what we want to achieve with the brands. The others, low barriers to entry. It's low cost. It's super simple. The integration can take 5 minutes to a Shopify account, and there is no cost involved with that. So it is really accessible for, there's a lot of small designer brands that we're talking to that I say small, they're small in team size, but big in sales, but they don't have the team or the expertise to embark on these complicated integrations or to set up outlet stores in shopping centers. It's a simple, easy to access option. And the final one, which comes back to what you said before, it's a more agile and flexible proposition. So when we say we want to help brands do better business, so many times, and I've seen it throughout my career, and we still see it, as brands follow that typical clearance cycle. They buy the product, they sell the product, they wait 3 months, they see what doesn't work, they discount the product, they wait another 3 months, they discount it further, and then at 9 months or 12 months later, they've got the stock that they don't know what to do with, and they're forced to go down the path of dealing with those, we call them the dirty operators that buy it for a cent in the dollar and sell it to whoever, wherever it needs to go, whether it's offshore, whether it's I don't want to name any business names, but how do we help brands evolve that cycle? How do we help them put that product in front of the customer at the right time so they can get a better outcome, and they're not waiting till 12 months later to get 10 cents in the dollar to bulk sell it to whoever it may be? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, it makes sense. And as you're speaking, Justin, I'm trying to think, is there a reason here not to participate on the DOM platform? I haven't heard one yet. So I'm just like, it's win-win-win, but from what we're hearing at the moment. I really love that brand marketing piece, because I do think that, brands do have this concern about the dilution of brand when you are going into an outlet kind of environment. But you're doing the complete opposite. You're very focused on the brand building and the brand marketing side. So it sounds like they're in very, very safe hands in terms of, that element of doing business.
It's critical for us that the brands trust us. And it's, with everything that we do, the first question that we ask is, how will the brands feel about this? Is it something that the brands are going to be happy? Because that's our currency. The product is our currency, and we absolutely, for the long-term success of our business, we need the brands to absolutely trust us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that trust and, building that relationship over time, this is not just kind of a short-term strategy. I assume, you want these brands to be part of this relationship long-term, and to be able to build that business together. As you said, there's a win-win in this for everybody involved. Let's maybe touch on the commercial terms so that the businesses that are tuning in kind of understand how this works. Do you have any specific criteria that brands would need to adhere to be on your platform? And what do those terms look like in comparison to, say, a traditional wholesale model?
Yeah, I mean, this piece certainly has evolved. I think, well, we'll start with the commercials. So a typical wholesale model, particularly with outlet, as I mentioned, the brands might be getting 10 cents in the dollar if they're lucky. I think what we're offering is the inverse, in fact, better than the inverse of that. It is a marketplace and we do take a percentage of the sale, but the brands do keep the lion's share of the transaction. So even with an outlet sale or a discount item that's sold, it can still, or should still be profitable for that brand. We want the DOM to generate profitable outcomes for the brand.
And you'd said before, Justin, that it basically takes 5 minutes to set up. So it's pretty seamless to set up. So, and there's initially no cost. Obviously, you know, the commission structure makes complete sense for a percentage of sale, but to get up and running on the DOM, it sounds like that's a really seamless kind of process.
Yeah, super easy. And we do a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
So unlike some other marketplaces, we do all the product mapping. So we want to make it super low touch for the brands. We understand, as I said, that a lot of our brands do have small teams and they've got other focuses. How do we make this a super easy business to engage with?
Yeah, amazing. That's great. You know, less friction. We all want that in business. But is there any criteria? Are there certain brands, you know, again, it'd be good for our audience to know, is there anything that, you know, is kind of a hard no for you on the platform?
Yeah, I mean, I think fast fashion, we're not really entertaining fast fashion. It's not where we want to be. And it's not to say that they're not good businesses. They're just not for us. They just don't align with what we're trying to do in market. It's sort of, it is a case by case and it is highly curated, and we assess each brand before we approach them, or if they approach us, is it right for the DOM? So we're not just taking anybody on. They've got to be brand and above. I don't really know if that answers the question.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how we look at it. Brand and above, and anything that's aspirational. We want the customer to come on and say, okay, that is an aspirational brand. I would like to shop or would like to wear the product of that brand.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. So I think for anyone tuning in, just go to the website, have a look at the brand portfolio. I loved how you split it up between the brands, and then you've also called out the designers.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to get a feel for the brand and product mix on the site. And, you know, just think about being in good company. Essentially, that's how I'd probably articulate it. I think being on your site would be being in very good brand company. Yep. So I think businesses will be able to see very quickly whether they fit within that kind of criteria. But certainly, you know, reach out to Camilla or to Justin or to anyone on the DOM team to find out whether, you know, this is going to be a right solution for your business. I'm sure the conversation, you know, there's always an opportunity for an open conversation around that.
And I can add a bit more color to that, to what you saw with the designer. The separate section of the designer was one of the initial USPs that we brought into this business, and we took inspiration from your traditional shopping center. So take a Chadstone.
Yep.
Each wing or each aisle is curated, and there's luxury brands together and designer brands together, sports brands together. And we thought that, I mean, that obviously makes sense. It's how the customer likes to shop.
Yeah.
But it's not really replicated in the online experience. So what we wanted to do was, how do we create an environment that is safe for Adidas, but also safe for Jack and Jack? And as we say, how do we give the brand that trust? And the precincts is one of the things that we brought in to answer that.
Mm-hmm.
It will evolve, and it's kind of an MVP product, that precinct approach. But over time, we want to have defined precincts that each talk to a different customer, that each have their own language and their own set of brands that make that path to purchase much easier, much quicker for the customer, and also the ability for the customer to find brands that are relevant to them. So if they're in a designer precinct and they see a brand that they've not heard of, because it's in that precinct, it should immediately give that trust factor of them saying, okay, well, I should look at that brand. It's in the designer precinct. Haven't heard of it. Let's give it a go.
Yeah, I love that dynamic experience because, as you said, there's with those precincts, there's something in there for everybody. So whether you are looking for special occasion, whether you are looking for workwear, whether you are looking for activewear, are there any categories that you're looking to go into that you're not actually ranging at the moment?
Yeah, we do. We've got a pipeline of categories. Timing of those is to be confirmed. I think what we've done as a business, and something that we've learned over the last 18 months, is we need to have focus, and we need to have purpose for the customer. And when we started this business, we said we wanted to be a premium outlet. I will say last year we probably lost a little bit of that premium appeal and we went a little bit too wide. And then what we realized is, hey, we're trying to be too many things to too many people. What do we want to be known for? We want to be known as that premium outlet with premium brands. And yes, we've got a lot of fashion brands that I think don't sit far below what that where that premium set is. But let's rein it in and really go out and talk to the customer about what it is that we want them to know us for.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's really important, building that awareness around where you're positioned and creating that consistency of experience.
And that purpose. How do we want the customer to know us as the premium online outlet?
Yeah.
If we want them to know us as the online outlet, there's many other people doing that. That's not unique. That's not special.
Yeah. So let's talk about the customer. How has the customer responded to this dynamic platform?
Yeah, we've seen a great response from customers, especially in the last 3 months since relaunching this new brand positioning, new website. Since May, when we launched the campaign, we've doubled our sessions on site. And with that, we've seen our community grow by 20%. So there's a certain uptick and the customers responding really well. We're getting great feedback from our customers through email, through social, loving the brands that we stock, that we're offering these aspirational brands at a great price, essentially.
That's some impressive growth.
Really
Camilla.
great. Yes.
Yeah.
Really, really exciting to see.
And I can't share numbers, but a healthy percentage of our sales are coming from repeat customers or return customers. So there certainly is appetite and interest in what we're doing from the consumer side as well.
Yeah. And from a marketing perspective to customers, I know you've done a fabulous recent marketing campaign. Let's talk about that. What's your strategic plan around the marketing?
Absolutely. I mean, I'll start a little bit with the branding first and foremost. So we, as you mentioned at the start, we really want to own that word outlet and kind of shake off those old connotations that it's stale or unwanted stock and reframe the outlet shopping as the best way to secure high quality fashion. And this is twofold. It really gives kind of that status to existing outlet shoppers who like to go to outlets, who want to find that bargain. But it also gives this level of desirability to new customers. So they found this best kept secret on the DOM where you can shop these aspirational brands and get them at a good quality price. So with that branding, we launched the campaign in May, and the strategy there was twofold. First and foremost, we wanted to rebrand ourselves and get this awareness out there. So the first part of the strategy was high reach against a broad audience of women 18 to 49. And then secondarily, it's hyper targeted campaigns. So making sure that we're surfacing the right brands or the right price or the right product at the right time. And with that strategy, it really was kind of threefold outside of that. So it was driving reach in high trust channels. Being a digital business, we don't really have a in real life experience. We don't engage with our shoppers in that way. So we wanted to bring our brand out into the real world through a traditional marketing campaign, which we launched in Victoria with out of home street posters, buses, street furniture. Secondarily, it's about strengthening our trust and credibility. So that's really what we call walking the fashion walk, where we work with credible influencers in the space who really can speak to our offering and show the breadth of brands and products that we have. And then lastly, it's delivering that high quality traffic to site. So guiding people down the funnel, getting them to the site, shopping, enjoying the experience, wanting to come back. It's all about nurturing those customers once they come onto the DOM.
Amazing. Well, what has the feedback from brands been about this kind of dynamic focus on marketing? I'm seeing that as a real point of difference for your business model. There's that added bonus of the brands that you're partnering with. They're able to slip into this stream of the dynamic marketing strategy that you've got in place at the DOM.
Yeah, the feedback from brands has been incredible. They love the new positioning. They love the elevation of the brand. We're also really flexible in working with brands. So because we want to bring that curatorial eye to our huge product range, we want to make sure if brands want to be seen or they have the right product for different stories we're telling, that we can showcase them on our site at no additional cost. So we're always thinking of ways that we can promote our brands through our own channels, whether that's through brand specific spotlights or incorporating them to stories that we're telling.
Yeah, amazing. And you've seen that on the flip side with the brands. Are they happy to promote the DOM? Are you seeing them kind of, publicly really focusing on, hey, we're now available on the DOM? Because I'd imagine, again, in contrast to a typical clearance model, this is one that they're going to be very, very happy to showcase.
We do see brands reposting and engaging with what we're doing, which is great.
Yeah.
And I think what I'd like to add is we also launched a new front end with BigCommerce in May, so that was kind of in line with this new campaign. And the two of those together have been really what we've been going out and saying to the brands that we're going to do for a long time. It took a little bit longer for us to get there, but I think them seeing it and they really impressed, and that we're getting overwhelmingly positive feedback. And I think it just adds to that trust factor as the DOM, yep, you said you're going to do that, delivered. So, and it's certainly giving the brands a lot more comfort to engage with us and talk about how do we work together beyond what we're currently doing, exclusive offers, exclusive products, etc., etc.
Yeah, amazing. Can we now touch on behind the scenes at the DOM? I know that this doesn't just happen magically, a dynamic business model like this, but could you share just a little bit of insight around how the DOM ticks behind the scene, who's actually on the team? You're located in Sydney, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. We're a small team. So we have e-commerce, marketing, and category management, which is in charge of speaking with the brands directly. We are based in Sydney, and I think what's made the business so successful is the right people, having the right people on board who really believe in the DOM and what we're doing. And being a small team, we're really collaborative. So there is this kind of culture here. I will say that, any problem that we're facing, we all do it together, and no challenge is too big or too small for us to have a look at. And it's really, I think, something I will give credit to Justin is that, there's a culture of testing and learning. Mm-hmm. So sure, let's go do this. I don't know the answer. Let's give it a go. And I think that's something that's really important in businesses, because a lot of the time you're expected to know the answer and you're expected to know what the outcome will be, but we're forging a new path in this arena. And, you have to fail in some instances, which probably sounds a bit cliche, but it's really true in the startup world.
I think it's typical when you're breaking new ground, right?
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, we can have the vision, we know where we want to get to, but we don't necessarily know how we're going to get there. And it's having that framework and that structure that allows for that flexibility, and let's test and try and do different things. And we've got a really great group of advisors and investors who have a lot of retail experience, and it's trying to bring those old traditions or those old best practices and combining with the new. And it is probably one of our challenges, is that what worked yesterday, what works for a bricks and mortar business or a multi-channel business doesn't necessarily work for us. So these are some of the challenges that come with that, but it's how do we combine the two, because we can't just turn our backs on what worked yesterday, because there's a lot of learnings that we need to bring forward into the business, but how can we adapt and modernize it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure you have to be very, very agile, quick on your feet in this space. I did read, Justin, that you had strategic investors and advisors.
Yes.
So it sounds like you are supported by a really solid leadership team.
Yeah, we've got some really great people on our book. So what we did is we built out the concept, and then we went to people in the industry to invest as early investors, because we knew we were going to get much more value out of them than we would a typical investor. People that understand what we're doing, understand the potential in what we're doing, but also have experience in their own businesses and building something that has some similarity or some parallel. And bringing all of that expertise in and using it to find a way to push forward.
Really powerful to have that level of expertise, helping to kind of steer, while you've got also the team at the coalface, learning and iterating every single day, no doubt. So that kind of bottom to top and back and forth approach typically can be really dynamic and gain those quick results, as you have really swift results over a short period of time. So let's talk about the retail landscape now. So if we were to take the pulse of Australian retail at the moment, how would you both assess the health of it?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking to brands all the time, so I think we've got a pretty good idea of what is going on anecdotally, at least, there certainly has been a step back in consumer spending, particularly in fashion. There are the outliers, which is always nice to see that even when times are tough, there's still the businesses that are flying, the businesses that are doing amazing things in their space. So it's always good to know that there is opportunity for that, and there's still opportunity for success. But yeah, there certainly has been a step back in consumer spending, which means that there is stock, an abundance of stock, and I think the DOM is well positioned to help brands solve that problem for all the reasons that we've discussed before. It's not it's an accretive solution and a long-term sustainable solution, and we want to be in place to support the brands and ensure that problem doesn't spiral.
Yeah, it seems, as we spoke about before we started recording, it feels like your business is perfectly poised for the current kind of economic landscape. And no better time for brands to get involved. Let's talk about.
And I will add something that somebody shared with me who has been involved in a similar business, not in fashion, but it's a type of business that it succeeds in booms and succeeds in recessions as well, because people always want to bargain. When times are tough, they certainly want to look at, be more conscious or aware of what they're spending. But when times are good, everybody still wants a discount.
That's right. It is that conscious consumerism, isn't it, really? Yeah. And, who doesn't like a good bargain? I don't think there's many people who wouldn't put their hand up and say, whether they say it out loud or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about innovation in our industry. The retail industry has been rapidly evolving, especially in the last few years, as we've all experienced, an extremely challenging time. Mm-hmm. But there's certainly some things at the forefront, such as sustainability, circularity, transparency, technology, AI, the metaverse. Across all of these dynamics, how is the DOM responding to these shifts?
There's certainly a ton to keep abreast of at all times. I think for us, it's remaining focused. You can get distracted by the shiny new toy, but we really ultimately need to figure out what's important for the brand and our customer. I think at this point in our journey, our goal has always been to reduce fashion waste. Ultimately, we want there to be less stock on sale, less stock going to clearance. And one of the things we've spoken about from the get-go is the trend cycle moves at breakneck speeds. So we want to show customers that you don't have to shop the latest season for your clothing to be fabulous, which is why you'll never really see us talk about trends on the DOM. So we want to show that you can invest in this affordable fashion, whether it's a $30 white t-shirt from a great brand or it's, a beautiful blazer from a designer. These things will live in your wardrobe for years to come. And it's not necessarily about latching on to what's new and what's now. It's about building that wardrobe with really quality fashion.
And the customer behavior, their sentiment certainly aligns to that, whether it's a vintage secondhand shopping. I think outlet fits perfectly into that equation. There's not that need anymore to have the latest and greatest, because the latest isn't necessarily the greatest. And I think that mentality is changing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I love your point, Camilla, about it being more about investment pieces. So not so much the seasonal shopping. It's like, okay, well, we can get that product anytime, but we're going to have longevity of that piece, that quality piece in our wardrobes. And I think there's an element of sustainability there, because then it's no longer the throwaway piece in regards to fast fashion. Exactly. So I think demystifying that, if you're buying on clearance, it doesn't mean that, it's going to be a short-term piece. It can certainly be investment shopping, especially on a platform like the DOM, where it is a premium experience. So yeah, I absolutely love that element.
We like to call it investment without the investment.
Oh, I love that. That's a great tagline. There you go. There's my social media post for this podcast episode.
I think one other thing I'll add to that is, there's been increased popularity in shopping overseas retailers, that by shopping the DOM, you're shopping directly from the brand and the product is being shipped from Australia. So it's not going from Australia overseas back here. And that's just another layer that adds to shopping more consciously.
Yeah, absolutely. And
on the technology piece, what excites me is the accessibility of this technology for small brands, small businesses as well. Traditionally, it used to be only the enterprise level businesses that could access the technology or the latest and greatest, but there's certainly been a shift in that with all these SaaS products and SaaS platforms, and giving accessibility to smaller business to access the latest technology, whether it's data analytics or AI or whatever it might be, and allow businesses of any size to really sophisticate the operation, which is really exciting, and I'm excited to see how that evolves over the next couple of years as well.
Yeah, I think we have so many options. I couldn't agree more. It's like there's no barrier anymore. There's no kind of barrier to entry or adoption of a piece of software or technology. It's just becoming so accessible to everyone, no matter what size business you're in.
Yeah.
It's just really working through it all, what's available. And it's like, okay, what am I going to implement when? Because there's so many choices now.
Exactly. And as Camilla said, particularly, given we've got a small team, we can't do everything, and there could be hundreds of things that would be great to get involved or try, but we can't do it all. We've got to be focused, and how do we having that process to methodically select the ones that we think are most relevant for us, and if it doesn't work, move on, and if it does, great, build on it.
Yeah, absolutely. If it's not broken, then don't fix it, just take it to the next level. Now, just some advice from you both, because you're at the coalface, you're doing the things all day, every day, working with brands, working with customers, working with product, so dynamic. Just what, from a brand perspective, what do you feel that, brands and retailers should implement now? If it was like, okay, we've got to move on some things now to effectively prepare to embrace the future of retail, what would it be?
I'm not going to give any specific pieces of what I think brands should do, because I think every brand and every business is different. But I think what we've certainly learned, and what we continue to learn, is understand your customer, be where they are, be genuine, have purpose, and take those things and use them to define the strategy. I think what we constantly trying to do is take a step back and talk to our customer and understand what is important to them, what are the potential friction points, where are they shopping, what is their behavior, how are they changing the way that they do things to ensure that we keep up with it. I think that's probably the biggest thing, and something that we've certainly learned, and something that we certainly we put a lot of importance on in our business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. The customer has the answers.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Being customer, it's like the age-old saying, customer-centric businesses win. Sometimes we forget that. We go into this really complex terrain, but sometimes it's getting back to the fundamentals of how to do business that is most powerful.
Absolutely.
Now, when breaking new ground, there's always challenges, but no doubt there's been some amazing milestones as well. And we've touched on some of the challenges that you faced over the journey. Can you share, what the key challenges have been so far, getting to where you are now in 2023, and also some of the highlights, some of the milestones that you're most proud of?
Yeah, I think from a marketing perspective, being a startup, you always have to show that month-on-month growth, especially when we have investors and the board. So it's really been finding the balance between that long-term brand building versus short-term growth, because your long-term brand building activities aren't going to result in that immediate session growth that you need to see. But the session growth, if you kind of pause that activity, it's going to drop off immediately. So it's really always trying to find that fine balance between the two. And that's something we've just been doing in the last month or two with this new branding to get it up and running. So I would say on the flip side of that, a huge milestone for us has been launching this new branding and this new positioning that we feel is so solid to bring us through the next, couple of years. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, amazing.
And for me, one of the big challenges has been establishing our business and market. There's so many different paths you can take, so many different ways that you can achieve what we're trying to achieve, but what is the right approach? And we use the phrase spray and pray. For the first period, it certainly is a spray and pray approach. We're trialing lots of things. We don't know what's going to work, but having the belief and the resilience in what we're doing to push through, because very rarely do you get immediate results on these things. They do take time, and it has taken us time in trialing and testing and doing different things and doing the same thing in different ways to really understand where the opportunities are and where the areas of focus should be. So that probably has been a big challenge for us. I think it's a big challenge for any new business in having the patience, the resilience, and getting the support from your team, both, I guess from a board level and from a team level, to let's align on the vision, understand what we're trying to do, but just know that it's going to be a process to get there.
Yeah. I think
without being derailed, because if you do listen to everything and what everybody tells you, then you're going to be spinning around in circles. It's going to turn left, turn right, turn left, and you're not going to get anywhere.
Everyone's an expert, right? So you got to stay the course. I love that, spray and pray.
Yeah.
A lot of praying. I've never heard that term before, but
Yeah, a lot of praying.
I love it. I love it. Now we're getting to the pointy end now. And finally, in closing, we'd love to know what excites you about the future of retail.
I think there's a couple things that excites us as a business, and we're well placed to really answer to. One being that shift from fast fashion to slow fashion. That's something that we've been speaking to, but you're seeing it in the industry. And I think it's something we want to really be pushing and be alongside. And with that, we play a very small part in the circular economy, and that's going to be huge as businesses start to become more accountable and customers' expectations of sustainability or conscious shopping arise. So that's something we really want to have at the forefront of our purpose for the business.
Amazing. Such an exciting space to be in. Congratulations to you both and to your teams in the background behind you there at HQ. What a phenomenal result in such a short period of time. We need more businesses like yours in the industry. Not that I'm saying we need a competitor for you, but we certainly need more businesses like yours supporting brands and, of course, giving consumers what they want. Can't wait to share this across our community and cannot wait to see what you both do next at the Dom.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Fashion Business Mindset podcast. We'd love to keep connected. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Fashion Equipped. And if you'd like to find out more about our Start Your Fashion Business program and your mentor collective, head to our website fashionequipped.com.au. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share this podcast with others, hit subscribe, leave us a rating and review. Let's do this together. Let's make the fashion business your business.
This is a Guide Your Light network production, creating podcasts with purpose.